Well, welcome to the Botanical Medicine Study course with me, Stephanie Georgieff, your host and instructor for all things botanical medicine. Make sure to check out the links in the program notes if you would like to receive the very comprehensive Botanical Medicine Study course, which is available exclusively on Patreon. There are several ways you can support this channel, but also educate yourself. And it's the top tier, the most expensive one. But in these days of very uncertain access to medicine and our insurance is being taken away from us and hospitals are closing and all sorts of things, the good news is we have nature to fall back on in terms of our healing. So if you want to understand how to use these wonderful plants to help yourself be more healthy, click the link on the Patreon link and sign up for the top tier. The amount the course will cost you will cost less than maybe 2 months of your health insurance. That won't make you better anyway. So at the time of the posting of this program, we are well into spring, and it's time to start thinking about gardens, and especially in the Northern Hemisphere. And so for this week's Herb of the Week, we're going to look at a plant that can and should be in most gardens across the world. And so for this week's Herb of the Week, we will be exploring the delicious, fragrant, hardy, and healing herb, which is part of that famous Simon and Garfunkel song, and it's rosemary. Now, rosemary is one of those plants that our wonderful Latin binomial taxonomy people have gotten a hold of. And it used to be called Rosmarinus officinalis, and now it's called Salvia rosmarinus. And the rest of us know it as rosemary. In certain countries, it's called rosmarin, and it's a shrub with a fragrant evergreen needle-like leaf, and it has anywhere from white to pink to purple or blue flowers. This wonderful plant is native to the Mediterranean region, and particularly outside of that region, it's native to Portugal and Spain. Now, until 2017, it was called Rosmarinus officinalis, and then they changed it to Salvia rosmarinus. And so, depending on the age of your herbal, if you do look this up on something like Wikipedia, you'll get sent somewhere else if you put in Rosmarinus officinalis. But it's good to know both of these terms. I think you can figure this out because Rosmarinus is actually in both of the names. But this is part of the sage family, the Lamiaceae family, which is also known as the mint family. And all of the members of this family are quite fragrant. And the reason they're quite fragrant is they have very high concentrations of essential oils. And most of these plants in this family are used either as medicine or in cuisine. And this is certainly one that does good in both, actually. We tend to use rosemary more in like an essential oil, but you still can, put it in teas and enjoy it that way. Now, this plant is very hardy. It can withstand droughts. It can live up to 35 years. And back in the day when I was teaching at community colleges and botanical gardens, I would tell my students that if you cannot grow rosemary on your property, you are either on a toxic waste dump or you're actually watering it too much. And the plant flowers in spring and summer, but the plants can be in constant bloom in certain warm climates. Now, the medicinal actions are what you would expect, especially if you like to sniff this plant. I was walking around my neighborhood this morning and I found a little sprig of it and I just kept sniffing it. It was so yummy to smell. And in folk medicine, the bulk herb has been used as an antispasmodic. It's also considered an astringent. It's very tonifying. It's diaphoretic, which means it can cause you to sweat, which means it will actually help lower your fever if you have one. It's also a stimulant nervine. And this means it stimulates the nervous system and it's very it causes you to be quite alert as far as I'm concerned. And it has antimicrobial properties. So it's just a wonderful all around plant. It just has lots of excellent properties that you can use in teas and all sorts of ways. Now, rosemary essential oil is the way that most people take this plant. And it's very stimulant because it's concentrated, it's hugely stimulant. And this is something, if you're having trouble staying awake studying or you've got to do your taxes or whatever, this is a nice one to have, near your desk and you just can kind of sniff it as you start dozing off. It also is a powerful antimicrobial. It has anti-inflammatory properties. That's why you'll see it in a lot of quote unquote sports formulas, like sports massage formulas and sports lotions, things like that, to help ease muscle pains and things like that. It also enhances the appetite. And because it's a stimulant nervine and it's it wakes you up, you have to be a little careful with it, especially if you have high blood pressure. And it will also cause the skin to turn red. So I don't recommend using this straight. I would definitely cut it in either a carrier oil or in a lotion. And then because it has all these wonderful properties, you can use it like in hand cream or rub it on, achy joints and muscles and things like that. Now, there are some cautions, and the caution is mostly with the essential oil. You're not going to have problems if you want to do roast potatoes with rosemary, but it really is with the essential oil. And if you apply it directly to the skin, it can cause a lot of almost burning and tingling, but it also can elevate blood pressure. So if you are taking medication or you're on the border and you don't want to elevate your blood pressure, this is not an herb that you should use in your baths and foot baths or in massage creams, things like that. You really should not use this in those cases. In the essential oil form, you can eat to your heart's content because you're not going to get the dosage that way. Now, this is from my favorite go-to source for wonderful diagrams of chemicals, and these are all the different things that makes rosemary smell good and also work on your body. Now, recently, noticeable scientific interests are focusing on the beneficial therapeutic properties of different kinds of rosemary extracts. And what they're noticing is that there are lots of medicinal properties to rosemary, specifically, as I said, anti-inflammatory, antioxidants. Um, it's really good for the nervous system, again, if you don't have high blood pressure. But they're also noticing that this can really help in mild cases of depression. And it's also good for stimulating memory. So it's, if you're having trouble concentrating or you're feeling a little more forgetful, this might be something you'd like to sniff on a regular basis. Now, there's all kinds of ways to take rosemary. It's just like most other herbs. You can have capsules, you can take it in essential oils, you can get it in tincture form, you can do it in teas, you can put fresh or dried rosemary into your teapot and enjoy it that way. It's not as easy to eat as, say, parsley. Can't just like gnaw on a bunch of rosemary, but it's really good in terms of roasting things. But mostly these are the different ways you can take it. You can also infuse rosemary in oil, and a lot of us have seen that in wonderful cooking things. Now, cooking with rosemary is just limited to your imagination. You can do both sweet and savory. Rosemary shortbread is quite delicious. I personally always love rosemary in any type of bread. It's always really good. Wonderful for roasting things, meats. It goes really well with fowl and things like lamb and pork. You can make pestos out of rosemary, and I use that like as a rub on meat and then bake it, and oh, it's so good. And you can also make your own infused oil or infused vinegar. You just essentially put a bunch of, sprigs of rosemary in some olive oil or whatever cooking oil you like. And you can also do that in your vinegars. And then after about a week, you take the herb out and you can pour it on stuff and really enjoy that. You can add it to all sorts of things like salad dressings, etc. Now, of course, I do have some links in the program notes on some delicious recipes for rosemary, so make sure to check those out. And finally, the gardening. And rosemary is best grown by cuttings. You can get rosemary seeds. They're very teensy. So you can grow it from seed, but I highly recommend getting small plants from your local nursery, or you can also use sprigs and just put them in the ground. And this is a very versatile plant. You can grow it in container gardens. You can grow it directly in the ground. The big mistake most people make with this is they actually overwater it. So, don't, put the plant into shock by never watering it. But drip irrigation is probably the best bet for this. And it's a wonderful plant to grow if you are in an area that is sometimes drought prone. So it's a very hardy, wonderful herb. So, however you want to incorporate this beautiful, beautiful, fragrant, delicious, and healing plant into your life, you want to make some rosemary shortbread or you want to add this to your garden, I hope you come to appreciate what an incredible gift that rosemary is to us all. This is Stephanie Georgia saying thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. Make sure to check out the links in the program notes. And if you want, you can always join up on Patreon to support this channel. You get all kinds of neat goodies at different levels. And I highly recommend signing up for the course, which will last 1 year. And all of the information on how to do that is in the program notes. So until next time, be well.